Stop translating in your head. That is the first step. You want to speak English and feel free. But every time you open your mouth, you think of your native language. You ask yourself, how do I say this in English? You pause. You panic. You search for the right words. You fear sounding foolish. You wish you could just talk without that mental back and forth. You hear other people speak quickly. They use short phrases or casual words. They do not seem stuck. You wonder how they do it. You wonder why your mind stops and compares each phrase to your mother tongue. You feel trapped. You feel slow. This is not your fault. You learned English in a formal way. You studied grammar rules. You memorized vocabulary lists. You had to pass tests. You wrote essays. You rarely just talked. You rarely just let the words flow. So your brain did not learn to think in English. It learned to translate. That is why you freeze now. That is why you cannot respond in real time. That is why you feel the pressure. But there is a solution. You can train yourself to stop translating. You can let go of the old habit. It takes time, but you can do it. You can start by noticing real spoken English. You can look for entire phrases that people use every day. You can memorize them as chunks. You can practice them until they feel natural. If you keep large sets of expressions ready, you will not reach back to your native language for every sentence. You will just say the phrase you know. It becomes your go-to. You might think, but I do not know enough phrases. That is fine. You can learn them one by one. You can start with something like I hear you or that's awesome. You can slip those into your daily speech. If you do it often, you will see that you think less about your first language. You just say, I hear you, not, I wonder how to translate, I understand your feelings. This is a small example, but it works. Another step is to build confidence by listening. You can watch short videos with subtitles in English. You can turn the subtitles on if you need them at first. Then you can turn them off. You can focus on the speaker's flow. You can focus on how they stress certain words. You can note how they connect ideas. Do not try to match each word to your native language. Let the English flow over you. Let yourself guess the meaning if you do not know certain words. Usually you can figure it out from context. Children learn that way. They do not translate. They hear new words. They guess from the situation. They adopt them. You can do that too. You can also practice writing short notes in English. You can describe your day. You can say, I woke up early. I felt tired. I drank coffee. I read a few pages of a book. You can keep it very simple. The point is to train your brain to produce small English sentences without switching languages. At first, you might type a line, then check a dictionary, then type another line, and check a different dictionary. That is okay, but eventually, you want to stop leaning on your mother tongue. You want to think, I woke up at 7. I was still sleepy, so I had some coffee. It might have small errors. That is fine. You are retraining your mind. You can also do what many teachers call shadowing. Shadowing is simple. You take a short audio clip in English, you listen. Then you speak along with it. You try to copy the speaker's tone, their speed, their pauses. You do not wait for them to finish. You talk at the same time, like a shadow. This breaks the habit of translation. You are too busy mimicking them to think in your native language. At first, it may feel awkward. You might say half the words or stumble. That is normal. But with practice, you catch up. You start to copy entire phrases. You start to sense the flow. You pick up speech patterns. Then, when you speak on your own, you recall these patterns. You say them without translating. You say them because they sound right in your head. You let your ear guide you. Many language learners find that helpful. They do not do it once. They repeat it daily or weekly. They pick new videos or podcasts. They keep shadowing. They build a bank of natural phrases in their mind. Another key is to trust yourself. If you pause to check every grammar detail, you will freeze. Instead, you can accept some mistakes at first. This is tough, especially if you like being precise. But you have to let go of that. Real conversation moves fast. People do not mind small errors, especially if you speak with confidence. That means no apology every 2 seconds. No, sorry for my bad English. No, sorry I can't speak well. You can skip that. You can just speak. This takes courage. But each time you do it, you break the need for translation. You let your mouth form English phrases. You keep going. Each time you do that, you teach your brain that it can think in English. You show yourself that you do not need to plan every sentence in your native language first. You see that you can be understood anyway. It feels freeing. Another tip is to focus on common situations. If you always worry about how to order food, practice that at home. Say, "I'd like a medium latte, please." Try different ways. "Can I have the chicken sandwich?" "Do you have any specials?" Then, when you go to a cafe, you do not translate. You just open your mouth and say the lines you practiced. You do not think, "How do I say chicken sandwich in English?" You already have it in your head. That is the power of preparation. Keep in mind that you cannot break translation overnight. It is a habit formed by years of study, but you can chip away at it daily. You can choose to rely on short English words and phrases, not your mother tongue. You can notice progress when you realize you are not constantly comparing each phrase to your old grammar. You will see real improvements when you can have a short chat, maybe about the weather or about your day, without that mental block. That is the goal. You want to feel the flow. You want to let English come naturally. You can do it. It just takes practice and a willingness to sound a bit messy at times. That is fine. You will get smoother soon. You will notice your thoughts forming directly in English. You will find that you respond quicker. You will see that the fear is smaller. You will even enjoy conversations more. So do not give up. Let yourself speak. Let yourself learn phrases as whole units. Let your ear guide you. Day by day, you will stop translating and start living the language. Stop translating each word when you listen. That is the key. Many people tune in to an English podcast or video and try to match every single word to their native language. They pause, they think, they compare, then they lose the flow. They miss half of what is said, They feel anxious. They worry they will not understand. This creates pressure. It makes listening painful, not fun. But there is a better way. You can just let the English wash over you. You can accept that you will not catch every word at first. You can listen for the overall idea. You can pick out key phrases. You can guess the meaning of a new word from the context. You can do this without switching back and forth between two languages. It is a skill you build. It may feel strange in the beginning. You may feel like you only understand half of it. That is okay. The goal is to train your ear. The goal is to form direct links in your mind, English sound to English meaning. Sometimes, you will hear a word you do not know. Instead of stopping the audio, you can keep listening. You can notice how the speaker says it. You can see if they give clues about the word's purpose. Is it an action? Is it describing something? You can look at their body language if it is a video. You can let your brain do some detective work. If later you realize you really need that word, you can rewind or check a subtitle. But do not break the entire flow. Do not pause every 5 seconds. That is too much friction. That leads to constant translation. Another useful strategy is to choose materials that are not too hard. Pick a short video where the speaker talks clearly. Pick a level that feels just a bit above your comfort zone. If you choose something super advanced, you might panic. You might revert to your native language and start translating. That blocks progress, so be kind to yourself. Start small. Maybe you watch a 3-minute video clip. Maybe you listen to a short audio story. You do it once a day. You do not translate each phrase. You simply follow along. Over time, you catch more. You relax more. You trust your ear more. You can also try listening to the same audio multiple times. The first time, you get the main idea. The second time, you notice extra details. The third time, you might finally catch specific expressions. Each pass reveals more. Meanwhile, you are not flipping to your native language. You are noticing how English flows. You are noticing how certain sounds link together. You are absorbing patterns. This is how babies do it with their first language. They do not have a dictionary on hand. They just hear words in context again and again. Slowly, the brain maps it out. It also helps to pay attention to intonation. English speakers often rise at the end of a question. They stress important words. They speak quickly through little filler words like a or the. These details matter. They help you guess meaning. They guide your ear so you do not have to dissect every word. When you focus on the overall tone and the big words, you can get the main point. Then you can fill in the gaps. You do not need a perfect mental translation to follow the story. If you still feel the urge to translate, try a quick mental reminder. Tell yourself, I will not jump to my mother tongue right now. I will just guess or skip if needed. It might feel uncomfortable, like letting go of a safety net. But that is how we grow. Each time you ignore the urge to translate, you train your mind to handle English in a direct way. You teach yourself to process the language on its own terms. You become faster and more confident. This also applies to everyday listening. Maybe you hear two colleagues speaking English at the office. Instead of mentally turning their words into your native language, just observe. Notice key phrases they use. Would you mind? I see what you mean. We might need to rethink that. Hear how they say it. Notice if they stress any part. See if they speak loudly or softly at certain moments. You do not have to replicate it right then. You just let it soak in. Later, you will find those words coming out of your own mouth without conscious effort. That happens because you connected the words to their meaning, not to your old language. Another powerful method is to watch or listen to something you already partly understand. Maybe a topic you love, like cooking or sports, or a short film you have seen in your native language. That means you already know the gist. You are not relying on translation to figure out the story. You are just matching the new English words to an idea you know. This lowers stress. It keeps you in English mode. It prevents you from constantly checking how to say it in your first language. Over time, this deepens your direct comprehension skills. You can also try background listening. Play an English podcast while you do chores or walk around. You are not studying intensely. You are letting the sounds fill your space. You might only catch half the meaning, but your ear gets used to English as a regular presence. You become more comfortable with different accents. You start picking up repeated phrases. Your brain grows more familiar with the cadence of English. You reduce the need to translate because you feel more at home with the language. Try to avoid too many subtitles in your native language. If you watch a movie with subtitles in your mother tongue, you will probably glance down at them, then translate each line. That sets you back. If you absolutely need subtitles, use English subtitles. Then you see the words in English while you hear them. You keep your mind in English. You cut out the middle step of translation. At first, it may be tough. You may feel slow, but it trains your brain to handle written and spoken English together. It also teaches you how certain words look when pronounced a certain way. Little by little, these habits will become normal. You will find you can listen to English news or watch a YouTuber without pausing. You will get the main points. You will stop analyzing each bit. You will realize you are not translating anymore. You will realize your ear is doing the work directly. You will feel proud that you can handle full English segments. Then, when you speak, you will be faster and more fluid. You will not keep searching for a mother tongue equivalent. You will just talk. That is the power of listening without translation. It might feel challenging at first, but each day of practice moves you closer to natural English thinking. Build your English by topics. That is a good way to stop translating in your head. You pick a subject like food or hobbies. You list words and phrases under that subject. You write them in a small notebook. You say, I like soccer. I watch it every weekend. My favorite team is strong. They win many matches. You practice these lines until they feel natural. Then you do not translate each time you want to talk about sports. You already have the phrases ready. You can say, I play tennis, or I go running, or I watch baseball, without pausing to think. This saves you time. It also trains your brain to store words in groups, not as random items. When you learn a new word, place it in the right section of your notebook. If it is about travel, you place it under travel. If it is about food, you place it under food. If it is about work, you place it under work. This helps you recall it when you discuss that topic. Over time, you form a mental map. If someone asks, "What do you usually eat for breakfast?" you do not search your mother language for bread, eggs, or coffee. You simply recall your food page. You say, "I usually have eggs and toast. I drink coffee too." You skip the middle step of translating. You speak directly in English. You can make short sentences to fit each topic. For instance, if you have a section called Family, you write, "I have 2 sisters. We are close. We talk often. My older sister studies abroad. My younger sister works here." If you repeat these lines a few times, they become second nature. Then, when someone asks about your family, you use those lines at once. You do not think, "How do I say clothes in English?" or "How do I say younger sister?" You already have those words. You already practiced them. You just speak. This approach is more natural than memorizing word lists that have no context. If you memorize random words like violin, mountain, receipt, you might forget them unless you know how to place them in a sentence. But when you learn them inside a topic, they connect. If you are talking about travel, you learn hotel, flight, luggage, passport. You write short lines. "I need to book a hotel. I need to pack my luggage." You see how it all fits together. You do not scramble around trying to recall one word at a time. You skip the part where your mother tongue tries to come in. You just focus on the English phrase. This helps with confidence, too. If you study entire phrases, you feel ready for real conversation. You do not freeze when someone changes the subject. You have practiced many possible answers. You might not be perfect. You might have small mistakes, but at least you have a base. You have a mental library of mini-sentences. You are less likely to revert to your native language. You rely on the group of phrases you wrote for that topic. That is how you reduce translation in your head. You can also write short paragraphs about your life. For example, if you have a daily routine page, you write, "I wake up at 7 a.m. I take a shower. I eat breakfast. Then I commute to work." You keep it simple. You can add details. "I usually have cereal for breakfast. Sometimes I have fruit. I drink tea if I have time." You practice saying this out loud. You do not look at your first language. You do not wonder, "How do I say cereal in my mother tongue? And then how do I flip that into English?" You just read your English lines. You say them enough times that they stick in your mind. Soon, you can talk about your morning routine without mental translation. Another trick is to update your topics daily. If you learn a new phrase that fits a certain category, you note it down. You do not wait. You write it under the right heading. Maybe you hear someone say, "I am snowed under with work." That is about being very busy. You place it under work or office English. You write, "I am snowed under with work today. I cannot meet you." Then you read it a few times. You say it out loud. You do not try to translate snowed under to your mother tongue. You just grasp that it means very busy. Next time you want to say you are busy, you say, "I am snowed under," and you do not pause. You can do the same for casual speech. If you have a social talk section, you might add things like, "What's up?" or "That's crazy," or "No way." Then, in real life, if a friend shares surprising news, you respond, "No way." Not, how do I say that in English? You skip the extra step. It feels natural. You are using a phrase you already wrote down and practiced. You are building real fluency, not just isolated vocabulary. Some people use flashcards for this. They write phrases on each card. They group them by topic. Every day they review the deck. They do not rely on their native language translations. They might have a small hint or a simple definition in English. They treat each phrase like a single item. For example, a card might say, "I am running late." On the back, it might say, "Used when you are not on schedule." No translation, just an English explanation. This method forces the mind to think in English. The more you group your words and phrases, the more direct your thinking becomes. When you talk about health, you recall the health page. When you talk about travel, you recall the travel page. You are less tempted to scramble for a mother tongue word and then convert it. You do not get stuck in that stressful loop. You simply retrieve the chunk of language you studied. It is an efficient system. This is not about memorizing giant lists overnight. It is about consistency. Each day you update a topic or two. You add a few lines. You read them out loud. You speak them in front of a mirror or record your voice. Then, when you meet people, you try to use them. That is how you form a new habit. That is how you stop translating. You focus on building a library of short, practical statements under each topic. Bit by bit, you start to think in English. You start to talk more quickly. You worry less about grammar. You do not feel that heavy pause in your brain. You speak in real time. That is the reward of building your vocabulary by topic and practicing short phrases. So pick your categories. Gather words, write mini sentences, read them out loud, review them often, watch your confidence grow. Next time someone asks about your hobbies, you will not freeze and translate. You will simply say, "I love painting. I paint every weekend. It relaxes me." You will speak from memory, not from a bilingual dictionary. That is how you move forward to real fluency. That is how you let go of mental translation, one topic at a time. Fear can keep you stuck in translation mode. You worry about sounding wrong. You worry about making mistakes. You see native speakers talk fast. You think you can never match them. You panic. You cling to your mother tongue. You try to build each sentence from your first language. That slows you down. It also makes you doubt your ability. This fear feels real, but you can face it with small steps. Daily practice helps. You do not need perfect grammar every time. You only need to speak a little each day. Maybe you start with greetings. You tell yourself, "I will greet my friend in English." Or you say, "I will order my coffee in English." You might sound awkward at first. That is normal. You do not need to apologize for your English. Just say your short lines. Repeat them. Build your confidence. Real people often do not care if you make mistakes. They want to hear your ideas. They are happy you are trying. When fear kicks in, remind yourself that a small mistake will not ruin the conversation. If you say, "I am working in a big company," instead of "I work at a big company," the listener will still understand. You can keep talking. You do not have to stop and think, "Is that correct?" You do not have to switch to your mother tongue. You can just correct yourself if needed, or move on. This is how you learn. Each time you keep going, you teach your brain that it can handle English without flipping back to your native language. Context-based memory hooks help. Instead of memorizing a random verb, you link it to a real situation. Maybe you learn to pack when talking about travel. You remember packing a suitcase before your flight. You picture the action. That image is your hook. Later, you want to talk about preparing for a trip. You think of that memory. You recall the phrase, "I need to pack my suitcase." You skip the part where you wonder how to say pack in your first language. You use the hook. You use the English phrase. That is how you avoid fear. You trust the memory. Small notes or diaries also build courage. Before bed, you write, "Today I felt tired. Work was busy. I had a big project. I finished it on time. I was proud." You do not check your mother tongue dictionary. You do not craft perfect sentences. You just express the day's thoughts in English. You do it quickly. Then you read it aloud. You might see mistakes, but you let them be. Over time, those short lines become more natural. You stop feeling that old fear of, "What if I say it wrong?" You see that even messy English still conveys your message. Practice in real contexts pushes you forward. If you go to a cafe, try ordering your drink in English. If you meet a colleague who speaks English, greet them in English. Start with 1 or 2 lines. "Hi, how's your day?" "I'm doing okay, how about you?" Resist the urge to plan each word in your head. Resist the urge to form it all in your first language. Just speak. The sentence might be simple. The grammar might be basic. That is fine. You are speaking in real time. You are proving to yourself that you can do it. The fear will shrink as you repeat this process. Another tip is to set goals. You can say, "Today, I will talk for 1 minute in English without switching languages." Or, "I will not pause to translate for my next conversation." Maybe you do not fully reach the goal. That is okay. Any effort is progress. If you only manage 30 seconds, that is better than before. If you slip into your mother tongue a few times, you still tried. You learn from the attempt. You adjust for next time. Fear fades when you see small wins. It also helps to watch how children learn. They do not apologize for mispronouncing words. They do not stress over grammar. They hear something, they try it. If it fails, they do something else. They keep going. They do not judge themselves. That is why they learn quickly. You can take a similar approach. You can allow yourself to be a beginner. You can play with the language. You can gather new expressions from TV or from friends. You can keep a playful spirit. This mindset frees you from the heavy pressure of being perfect. Overthinking is the enemy. If you spend all your mental energy on grammar rules, you leave no space for real communication. If you worry about each tiny error, you freeze. The other person is waiting for a reply, but you are stuck in your head. That is when you revert to your native language. That is when the fear wins. Instead, Try to say something simple right away. Do not plan it too much. Let the words flow from your practice. You can refine it later. Each conversation is a chance to learn, not a final exam. If you catch yourself translating mid-sentence, pause. Take a breath. Think, I can express this in English directly. Maybe you simplify the sentence. Maybe you say, I don't know how to say that yet. That is okay. You still stay in English mode. You still keep your confidence. Bit by bit, this habit replaces fear. You realize you can handle unknown words. You can circle around them or try synonyms. You can laugh about small errors. You can keep going. Remember, fear does not vanish overnight. It shrinks with daily courage. Each time you speak without translating, you gain a little more trust in yourself. Each time you accept an error, you grow bolder. Each time you try real English in real contexts, you see that you survive. You even succeed. Slowly, your mind shifts from fear to curiosity. You say, let me see what I can say this time. That is how you stop translating. You free your thoughts. You let your English side show. And you feel proud every step of the way. Shadowing is a powerful way to stop translating in your head. You choose a short audio in English. You listen. You speak along at the same time. You try to copy the speaker's intonation and stress. You do not wait for them to finish. You do not pause after each sentence. You simply follow their flow. This forces your brain to act fast. It prevents you from going back to your mother tongue. It helps your mouth and your mind connect directly to English sounds. At first, shadowing feels strange. You speak over someone else. You hear them, and you talk too. You might only catch half the sentence. You might stumble. That is normal. The point is to break the habit of planning every word in your native language. The point is to mimic the rhythm and melody of English. You teach your tongue and lips to move in an English way. You let your voice produce the same patterns. You do not worry about grammar. You do not worry about meaning. You just repeat. You just follow. This practice is similar to singing along with a song. When you sing a familiar tune, you do not translate the lyrics first. You simply recall the words. You match the beats. You let the music guide you. Shadowing works like that. You treat the speech as a pattern you can copy. You do not think, how do I say this in my native language? You stay with the English. You embrace the sounds as they come. Over time, you form strong connections in your mind. You learn phrases as full blocks. You skip the step of internal translation. Some teachers suggest starting with very short clips, maybe a 30-second snippet. You can replay it. You can do it slowly. Many media players let you reduce the speed. You can set it to 75%. Then you shadow. You keep going until you feel comfortable. Then you move to normal speed. You can also pick a speaker you like. Maybe you choose a news anchor. Maybe you choose an English teacher online. Maybe you choose a TV show actor. You want to copy their accent or their style. That makes shadowing more fun. It gives you motivation. Daily repetition is key. 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. You put on your headphones. You find a quiet spot. You pick a short clip. You shadow it a few times. Then you stop. You might record yourself. You might listen back. You might compare your version with the original. That helps you notice if you stress the right words. It helps you catch any big pronunciation gaps. You do not do this to scold yourself. You do it to grow. Each time, you do a little better. Shadowing also improves your listening skills. You start to notice how real English speech has linking sounds. You hear how going to becomes gonna. You see how did you becomes didja. You hear how many words blur together. You do not have time to translate each bit. You just follow the speaker's lead. Your ear adapts. You get used to natural speech. Next time you chat with a native speaker, you understand more. You respond faster. You do not freeze. You do not revert to your mother tongue to figure out a phrase. This method also helps with confidence. You feel that you can match the pace. You discover that you can say a full sentence without pausing. You break the fear that you must plan every word. You realize that your mouth can produce English spontaneously. This is a big step away from translation. You are no longer building your sentence from your native language. You are echoing the English structure. You are training your mind to think in English patterns. If you like, you can try shadowing with subtitles. You can put English subtitles on. You read them and speak at the same time. You watch how the words line up with the sounds. Then you turn the subtitles off. You attempt it by ear alone. Each approach strengthens different parts of your brain. Subtitles help you see the spelling. No subtitles help you sharpen your pure listening. Both ways, you stay in English mode. Many learners say shadowing helps them realize how quickly they can pick up new phrases. They hear an expression like "what's up" or "that makes sense." They repeat it in real time. Then, later in a conversation, that phrase pops out naturally. They do not need to think about translating "how are you" or "I understand." They simply say, "What's up?" or "that makes sense." The muscle memory is there. The phrase belongs to them now. To keep shadowing fresh, you can vary your material. One day you shadow a short podcast on cooking. Another day, you shadow a news clip about sports. The next day, you might do a comedy skit or a tech review video. You expose yourself to different topics. You learn new words in context. You pick up different accents or tones. This keeps it interesting. It also helps you adapt faster to real-world English, which comes in many forms. Another tip is to choose content that suits your level. If the speaker is too fast, you get frustrated. You slip back into your native language. You want a challenge, but not one that crushes your confidence. If you try a fast show with lots of slang, you might not keep up. You might feel lost. So pick a moderate speed. Then, after a few weeks, push yourself with something tougher. The growth happens gradually. Remember to relax. Shadowing is not about perfect mimicry. It is about freeing your mind from translation. If you skip a few words, it is okay. If you mispronounce something, it is okay. Keep going. Keep speaking. The flow matters more than the details. You will see improvements in your overall fluency, not just in a few words. You will sense that English phrases come faster to your tongue. You will feel less anxious about being perfect. Little by little, shadowing chips away at the old habit of mental translation. Your mouth and brain embrace English speech directly. You become more flexible, more spontaneous, and more at ease. When you talk to people, you hear yourself using the rhythms you practiced. You do not plan them. They just emerge. That is the gift of shadowing. It teaches you to think in English, talk in English, and breathe in English, without that messy middle step. This is how you let go of the constant back and forth. This is how you move closer to real fluency. Reading can help you escape the habit of translating every line. When you see English on a page, you might feel tempted to convert each sentence into your native language. You might do it in your head without realizing. This slows you down. It also stops you from thinking directly in English. But there is a better way. You can train yourself to read in English as if it were your main language. You can focus on understanding ideas instead of checking each word. One simple approach is to find easy texts. They could be children's books, simple news articles, or short stories. You do not need advanced novels right away. You want something you can follow without grabbing a dictionary every minute. You might guess some words from context. You might skip sentences that seem too hard. This is okay. Over time, you will see that your brain starts to link English words to images in your mind. You skip your mother tongue. You jump to meaning. It helps to read with a purpose. Maybe you choose a story about travel because you like that topic. You see phrases like set off on a journey, book a flight, or board the train. You pick up these chunks. You visualize them. You do not break them into tiny pieces. You do not think, how do I say bored in my first language? You just read on. You get the story. You see the traveler stepping onto the train. The meaning is there. It flows from the text to your mind. That is the goal. Sometimes you will see a new word. Instead of flipping to a bilingual dictionary, try an English dictionary. Even if the definition has some words you do not know, keep trying to grasp the idea in English, or try context clues first. Ask yourself what the sentence implies. If the word appears with words like river or flow, maybe it relates to water. If it appears with noise or roar, maybe it has to do with sound. You guess, you move on. This is what children do. This is how your mind grows used to direct comprehension. Short reading sessions can help. You do not have to read for an hour. You can read for 10 minutes before bed. You can pick a short article on a website. You can read a single page from a simple novel. The key is daily exposure. You see English words arranged in real sentences. You get used to how words combine. You see patterns. You notice that I would like to is a common phrase. You see how he is going to changes into he's gonna sometimes. You develop an ear for writing. Then, when you speak, you can recall these patterns. You do not build your sentence in your mother tongue first. Reading also helps your writing skills. If you want to stop translating each line you write, you need to see how English sentences look from the inside. You may catch phrases like in a hurry or in a rush. You may discover that it's raining cats and dogs is an idiom meaning heavy rain. Over time, you gather these expressions in your mind. You become more confident in creating your own sentences. You do not feel the need to check your first language. You trust that your reading practice has given you a sense of correct phrasing. You can also try reading out loud. This merges reading with speaking. You pick a short paragraph and say each line clearly. You pay attention to how the words sound. You do not translate them. You let your voice shape the English text. This practice connects your eyes, your mouth, and your brain in one flow. If you stumble on a difficult word, you can check the correct pronunciation. Then you try again. You see the letters on the page. You say them in English. You skip any mental shift into your native language. Another tactic is to read something you already know in your own tongue. For instance, if you read a story in your mother language last year, you can now read the English version. Because you already know the plot, you will not need to decode every detail. You can guess from memory. You can focus on the new language itself. This helps you stay in English. You do not panic. You do not rush to translate. You feel comfortable because the storyline is familiar. If you want to push yourself, you can try reading with an English-only dictionary on hand. When you find a truly important word you cannot guess, you look it up. You see an English definition, maybe with an example sentence. You discover synonyms. You pick the meaning that fits your context. You do all this in English. You skip your mother tongue entirely. That further cements direct thinking in English. When you finish a page or a chapter, you can write a short summary in English. This helps you confirm that you understood the main ideas. You do not aim for perfection. You just put down your thoughts. You might write, "The main character left her city. She met a stranger on the road. They had a short conversation about the war." You do it quickly. You do not check your native language. You keep your mind in English. You see how it feels to think about the story in the same language you read it. Some learners do not realize how reading builds their internal sense of grammar. They think grammar only comes from textbooks. But reading real sentences shows you how grammar works in practice. You see how do or does or did appear in questions. You see how will or would or should pop up. You get used to their placement. You notice that "we should leave now" does not look like "we should leaving now." You store that knowledge without formal translation. This is how reading can sharpen your sense of correct English. The key is consistency. If you read in English for a few minutes each day, your mind will start to accept the language as normal. You will see progress in your speaking and listening too. You will be less tied to your native language. You will begin to trust the English knowledge you have gathered. You will speak with more ease. You will sense words forming in your head without conscious effort. You will find that your desire to translate gets weaker. You do not need that old crutch. You have direct access to English. Reading is a powerful tool. It can be fun, relaxing, and informative. It can also break the chain of mental translation. Each page you read becomes a step closer to natural thinking. So choose a book, an article, or a story that suits your level. Read a bit each day. Let the words form pictures in your mind. Let your native language rest. Over time, you will see real growth in your fluency. You will read faster, write better, and speak more naturally. That is the gift of reading in English without translating. You can learn to think directly in English. This might feel strange at first, but it can be a game changer. You skip the step of forming sentences in your native language. You stop converting them to English. You simply think in English from the start. That gives you speed. It helps you feel more natural. It also reduces confusion in your mind. One way to do this is through self-talk. You can talk to yourself silently or whisper if you feel comfortable. You walk around your home. You describe what you do. You say, "I am washing the dishes. I see some soap. The water is warm." You do not check each word in your mother tongue. You just say what you see. You let your English flow in small bursts. You can also describe your surroundings in your head. You step outside. You notice the sky. You think, the sky is cloudy. It might rain. The air feels cool. You notice a tree. You say, that tree is tall. Its leaves are green. You do not translate tree or leaf. You already know the words. You focus on the direct English meaning. This trains your brain to link the word leaf with the object on the branch. Some people worry about grammar while they do this. They stop themselves if they are not sure how to form the tense. But that might slow you down. For daily self-talk, grammar is less important than flow. You can say, "I am tired. I want coffee now. Then I go to work." Maybe you mix tenses a bit. That is okay. The goal is to keep going in English. You can tidy up grammar later if needed. The main thing is to build a habit of thinking in English words. Another step is to set small tasks each day. You might decide to think in English for 5 minutes while you get dressed. You think, I pick my shirt, I wear my jeans, I look in the mirror. Or you do it when you cook breakfast. You say, I crack 2 eggs, I fry them, I add salt. These lines seem simple, but they work. They keep your brain in English mode. They remind you that you can form basic sentences quickly. That confidence helps you in bigger conversations. You can also practice short reflections. At the end of the day, you review your day in English. You say, today I woke up early. I felt sleepy. I drank coffee. Then I went to the office. I had a meeting. It went well. I came home and relaxed. You do not dwell on perfect vocabulary. You just run through the day's events. You see them in your mind. You label them with English words. This builds direct language links. It stops you from flipping to your mother tongue for each event. If you want to push yourself, you can imagine future scenarios. You can think, tomorrow I will meet my friend. We might watch a movie. We might grab dinner. I will ask him about his new job. You rehearse in English. You form questions or statements you might say. You do it mentally or quietly out loud. When the real situation happens, you will not need to translate. You have your English lines ready. Some people worry they have no one to talk to, but self-talk is still valuable. It is like a private rehearsal. You do not need a partner to form sentences. You do not need a teacher to correct every line. You just speak or think in English. You make small corrections if you catch an obvious error. But mostly you keep the flow. Over time, you see big results. You find that your response time in real conversation is faster. You find that you rarely slip back to your mother tongue. You might feel silly at first. Talking to yourself can feel odd. But it is a tool many experts recommend. It creates a safe space to practice. No one judges you. You do not feel pressure to impress. You only aim to use English in a daily routine. That helps break the habit of translation. You do not have time to go back and forth between two languages. You just say, I am brushing my teeth. I see foam in the sink. Then you move on. It also helps to carry a small notebook. When you think of a new phrase, you can note it quickly. For example, if you think, I want to say I locked the door, but you are not sure about the word locked, you check it later in an English dictionary. Then you write a short example sentence. Next time, you will recall it. You will say, I locked the door behind me, without switching languages. Your mind will treat locked as an English concept, not as a translation from your mother tongue. Another trick is to watch your mental images. If you think of the word door, do you see the object in your mind, or do you see the word for door in your native language? Try to picture the object itself. Try to connect door directly to that object. The same goes for other words. If you read flower, see a flower in your mind, not the word in your first language. This small shift helps you think in English. You do not label it with your old language first. You can also use short, casual expressions in your self-talk. You can say, that's cool, or that's weird, or no way, when you react to your thoughts. For instance, if you drop something, you say, oops, that's not good, or oh no, I dropped my pen. You do not translate these exclamations. You just say them as they are. This is how you embed casual English into your thinking. You become comfortable with small remarks. That helps you in real conversation. You will not hesitate to say, oh wow, or that's amazing when you talk to others. Try to keep your self-talk short and easy. Do not overcomplicate it. If you force yourself to speak in complex paragraphs, you might stress out. Simple lines are enough. I turn on the TV. The news is on. I watch for a bit. I see a story about the weather. This daily repetition is what rewires your brain. It helps you view the world in English. It teaches you to form sentences on the spot. You do not need to plan or convert. You just say what you see or what you feel. If you want an extra push, you can record a quick voice note each morning. You say, today I plan to go shopping. I need new shoes. I might also buy groceries. I will see how busy the store is. If it's too crowded, I will come back later. You keep it around a minute long, then you listen once. You do not get upset about mistakes. You just notice if you repeated any phrase from your mother tongue. You try again the next day. After a week, you compare. Usually, you see improvement. You feel more at ease. You realize you are using more English phrases without thinking. That means you are not translating as much. In time, these habits become second nature. You walk around, you see an object, you label it in English. You think about dinner plans, you think in English. You list the ingredients in your mind: tomatoes, onions, pasta, sauce. You do not revert to your old language. When you meet a friend who speaks English, the words flow out. You do not feel stuck. You do not check your mother language for a phrase. You speak with the phrases you built in your daily self-talk. You trust your instincts. That is the power of thinking in English. It might feel slow at first, but each day you add a few more lines. You become fluent in your own head. That inside voice then guides your conversations. You notice that your confidence grows. You see that translation no longer runs the show. You speak with your English voice, from your English thoughts. It feels liberating. It feels like real progress. This is how you move closer to true fluency. It starts with simple self-talk. It grows into a natural flow of English in your mind. Then you speak with clarity and ease, no translation needed. You have practiced many methods to stop translating in your head. You have listened to short audio each day. You have worked on simple phrases by topic. You have faced your fear of making mistakes. You have tried shadowing. You have read short texts without reaching for a bilingual dictionary. You have talked to yourself in English when nobody was around. You have taken small steps every day. Now it is time to bring everything together. It is time to form a plan that helps you feel more relaxed and fluent. It is time to trust your English side fully. This lesson will show you how to combine all the ideas into one natural routine. Start your day with quick English self-talk. Get out of bed, then speak a few lines. Say, I have a busy day, I need breakfast, I will take a shower. Keep it simple. Do not translate. Do not think in your native tongue. Just let the words come out. If you stumble, ignore it. Laugh if you want. Then keep going. This morning habit sets the tone. It shows your brain that English is active. It trains your mind to form sentences without pausing. It might take 1 minute. It might take 10. You choose the length. The key is to do it every morning. Next, try a short reading session. Open an easy article on your phone. Read for 2 minutes. Do not check each word. Glance at the overall meaning. If you see a new term, guess first. If needed, use an English dictionary. Notice how the words form ideas. Notice phrases that appear more than once. Let your mind absorb them. Remind yourself you can skip a line if it feels too hard. You do not need perfect understanding. You only need practice reading in English. Little by little, you see progress. Your eyes become more comfortable with English text. Your brain starts to link words to context directly. At work or at school, use tiny English breaks. Take a moment to label objects around you. Silently think, there is a keyboard. There is a desk. I see papers. I see a pen. No big translations, no hesitation, just quick labels. Or maybe you describe your next task. You say, I will send an email soon. I must attach a file. Then I will wait for a reply. These short mental statements keep your mind in English mode. They are easy and do not disturb anyone. You are quietly building your confidence. In the afternoon, you might do a quick shadowing exercise. Open a short video or a podcast snippet. Listen for 30 seconds. Speak at the same time as the speaker. Do not wait and repeat. Do not press pause after every sentence. You just keep pace. Maybe you skip some words. Maybe you feel awkward. That is normal. Keep going. Then do it again. Each time, you pick up more of the pattern. You learn how to pronounce certain phrases. You realize you do not have time to translate if you want to keep up. This kills the old habit. It frees you to speak more fluidly. Later, you can review a few topic-based phrases. Check your notebook with sections like food, travel, or sports. Read through 5 or 6 short lines. You might have phrases like, I want a table for 2, or I need to exchange currency. Say them out loud. Do not think about your first language. Just speak them. Picture yourself in the real situation. Imagine you are at a restaurant or at a bank. Imagine you are using these lines. By visualizing, you form strong mental links. Next time you face that situation, you recall those lines instantly. In the evening, you could do a second short reading or watch a brief English video. If you watch a video, try turning off subtitles or using English subtitles if you must. Do not panic if you miss parts. Focus on the main point. Listen to the speaker's intonation. Observe how they link words. See if you can guess new expressions. Avoid pausing the video every few seconds. Let it run. Then re-watch if you like. Each pass fills in more details. This approach builds your listening stamina. It also teaches your ear to accept English in real time. Before bed, write a tiny diary entry in English. Summarize your day. I woke up early. I had a busy morning. I finished a project at work. Then I came home and relaxed. Keep it short and relaxed. Do not open a translator. If you do not know a word, use a simple substitute. If you want to say you were overwhelmed but cannot recall that word, just say, I felt very busy. That is fine. You do not need to get stuck. You do not need to run back to your native language. The diary cements your day's experiences in English. It shows you that you can express your life story in a second language. Little by little, these steps form a routine. You do not need each step daily if time is short, but try to do several. Mix them. Some days you do more shadowing. Some days you do more reading. The important thing is daily contact with English that does not involve your mother tongue. This kills the reflex to translate. This teaches your mind to think directly in English. You feel more at ease. You feel less anxiety. When you talk to someone, words come faster. As you grow in confidence, you can push yourself further. You can join a language exchange, speak with a tutor, or chat with coworkers. Now, you trust that your English phrases will appear. You trust your ear to recognize what they say. You do not freeze. You do not rearrange sentences from your native grammar. You talk. You make mistakes. You correct them if needed. You keep the conversation flowing. Remember, nobody learns to skip translation perfectly in a single day. This is a long journey, but each small action leads you closer to fluency. Each morning self-talk, each short reading session, each shadowing attempt, each diary entry, they all add up. They reshape your brain. They help you rely on English as your first response. This final step is acceptance. Accept that you are capable. Accept that your English is good enough to communicate. Accept that errors will happen but will not harm you. Embrace the process. Then watch as your English voice becomes strong and natural. This is how you stop translating in your head. This is how you move from slow, uncertain speech to direct, confident speaking. You deserve that progress. You have the tools now. You have learned about listening, reading, shadowing, self-talk, and topic-based practice. Use them daily. Keep your mind focused on English. Trust the journey. One day soon, you will notice that your native language no longer interferes. You will chat freely, read with ease, and think in English without fear. That is the moment you know you have truly let go of constant translation.